Hello everyone, today we would like to present to you our study entitled Sino-Literary Dialogues, a Communicative Approach to Latin American Texts in Foreign Language Classrooms. I'm Victor Manuel Chuchuk, and I'm going to present our paper together with my colleague Anda Lucia Felzan.
All right, so the contents of our presentation today are obviously the introduction, then we will be discussing literature teaching, then the methodological approach to literature teaching, teaching literature and the Common European Framework, followed by the teaching of literature in the Chinese university context with the specific case of Shanghai International Studies University. Then we will present to you of course, briefly, the criteria for the elaboration of a didactic program in Latin American literature in the same university I have mentioned. And, of course, we will finish with the conclusions.
Right, so this paper is aimed at offering the Shanghai International Studies University a didactic syllabus in Spanish American literature based on the precepts of communicative teaching to Chinese university students. To this end, we will carry out a bibliographical review of the points that we consider essential for the development of a curriculum in Spanish American literature, such as the methodological approach, the design of the syllabus, the selection of texts, the structure of the sessions, the teaching materials, as well as the tools and methods of evaluation outlining lines of action, and possible further research that may be useful to teachers in similar professional contexts. It is important to mention that after networking with Chinese teachers, we have noticed a gap in their public curriculum and wanted to design a work which could help bridge that gap through a practical proposal.
All right, so now on the slide, we can see a quote by Guillory and Parkinson that we would like to share with you since we found it very relevant for our paper. They say that literature had lost prestige for those writing about teaching. In the structural, functional syllabus, there was often no room for literature, which was seen as elitist, remote, deviant, and inauthentic. This view has been challenged in recent years, and now, in the communicative era, literature has regained ground. The reason for its comeback seems to be the convergence of ideas from two main sources. The first, literary criticism, including the debate on the nature of literary language and reception theory. The second, communicative language teaching. Right, so of course, in the following slides, we will focus on observing and assessing the most recent methodological trends in this field, reinforced, as we shall see, by the Council of Europe in the recently published companion to the descriptors of the Common European Framework of Reference for Languages.
Marta Sanz proposes in her didactic melting pot on Don Quixote, created for the Cervantes Virtual Center, a fundamental idea regarding the use of literature in the classroom, which consists of desacralizing and democratizing it, and promoting the creation of specific literature courses in the ELE teaching programs. Likewise, this didactic melting pot is focused on the training of ELE teachers in literature as a specific aim, and raises in two of the four general objectives it proposes, idea that can also be applied to the classroom, namely to promote reflection on the text through key reading questions aimed at the teacher's apprehension of meaning. The second one, to promote reflection on the text from a meta-linguistic, meta-discursive, and meta-cognitive point of view on the part of the teacher. And of course, we completely see eye to eye with this proposal.
All right, I would just like to briefly mention for those that might not know that ELE stands for Español como lengua extranjera, which is Spanish as a second language. So starting from the literary text, the literature classroom should be a space for the collaborative construction of meaning. This will be the main objective of the literature class. We would like to present here the key points which the Common European Framework Companion describes for these two activities. So as you can see, we should express a personal response to creative texts, including literature, explain what we liked, what interested us about the work, then describe characters, saying which one we have identified with, relate aspects of the work to our own experience, relate feelings and emotions, personal interpretation of the work as a whole or aspects of it. And then we should follow analysis and criticism of creative texts, including literature, in the following way. We should compare different works, then we should give a reasoned opinion of a work, and finally we should critically evaluate aspects of the work, including the effectiveness of the techniques employed.
While literature studies are broadened and deepened at the postgraduate level, both at SISU and at other universities specializing in teaching and research in the field of literature, it can be clearly said that unlike the Hispanic studies programs offered in Spain and other European countries, the objectives of the university's Spanish program are different. As Chen points out, the teaching of Ele in Chinese university education is based on the practice of the language and its usefulness mainly for diplomatic and commercial tasks, while the teaching of literature and its value is relegated to the background. Therefore, we consider that as the Spanish language curriculum in the Chinese university context is adapted to the socio-economic, political, and cultural needs of the country, and as literature is present in such a minority form and with such different objectives from those of the Hispanic studies programs offered at Spanish universities, the approach to literature subjects cannot be the same as that of the Spanish universities. This is not only because of the difference in objectives, but also because of the lack of time.
Due to time constraints, we will not be able to provide our full proposal within this presentation, but we have decided to share with you the course objectives, which are based on Marta-san, that we have mentioned before, and on the descriptors advanced by the Council of Europe in the Common European Framework. So our course objectives would be to develop interest, taste, and habit of reading 20th century Latin American literature in particular, and Chinese and world literature in general. Then to develop the ability to express the student's personal response to literary texts in oral or written form by providing observations, arguments, and direct examples from the text related to the emotions, sensations, identifications, affinities, and rejections perceived by the student, identifying the aspects of content, style, and form which have provoked them. And finally, to develop the ability to critically analyze literary texts by making observations and comments on the way in which a text has been composed and the appropriateness of or break with the conventions of the textual genre being worked on, which can be either a poetry or short story in our case.
We propose, therefore, a course that has its central axis short and complete readings, stories and poems, in this case, of representative authors of the Latin American 20th century, taking as a reference the latest proposals of the Council of Europe and the most recent pedagogical currents, discarding purely historicist or solely analytical perspectives, and focusing on aspects that are related to the reception of the text and critical analysis, which will be worked on through communicative and meaningful activities aimed at expression and the collaborative construction of meaning, stimulating the reading with previous activities, guiding them with in-depth activities during the reading, which we will leave out of this session, unfortunately, and concretizing them in class with post-reading activities focused on expression and debate. To this end, the assessment will focus on measuring the skills of perception, observation, criticism, and expression linked to literature through assessment tools based on the descriptors of the Common European Framework Companion.
And of course, thank you for watching.